So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. Can back here at BSN Network. This is the BSN Network podcast here today. It is Monday, November 16th. Hope everybody's having a good day so far and a good rest of their day yesterday. It is, in fact, Monday. Hopefully everybody had a good weekend. It was another packed football weekend in the books. Week 10 of the NFL season, done. Week 11 of the college football season, done. Both of those, there was a lot of good games on there. A lot of fun games that I was watching yesterday throughout the NFL, as the New York Jets were, in fact, on a bye week. And they, obviously, I was kind of flipping through games. I had the Texans game, Buccaneers game, Giants game. Watched the majority of the Giants game. The Giants game was the majority of what I watched, obviously, because I do have to come onto the podcast and kind of give you a deep run through. And also, the Giants game was the game that I really kind of wanted to watch because it was a pretty big game for the NFCs. Giants did, in fact, win. We'll talk about that just coming up. And then we had the Thursday games, or the later games. We had saw a little bit of the Seahawks game. Not much, though, kind of just highlights and stuff, but obviously Seahawks did not win. The 4 o'clock games were just unbelievable. I mean, the 4 o'clock games were very good. The Steelers-Bengals game, saw a couple highlights from that. Really wasn't big into that game, nor Niners, same thing. Saw a couple highlights there, here and there, but nothing huge. It was the Bills-Cardinals game that I was watching, and that was by far, I think, the best game I've seen all year, and by far, I think, if not the best catch, overall the best play I've seen all year, if you all know it. I'm sure by now, sitting here on a Monday afternoon or whatever, I'm sure by now you have probably heard about what happened in that Bills-Cardinals game, but if you didn't, I'll give you a run-through in just a little bit. That was by far one of the craziest plays I've seen in a long time. I mean, I think that was one of the craziest plays I've seen the last time since the Aaron Rodgers Hail Mary play back in 2015 or whatever. I mean, it really was crazy. And I mean, Hail Mary kind of thing. And even, craziest play, I think that was one of the craziest plays I've seen since the Dolphins. 8 lateral touchdown to win the game against the Patriots. So that was a crazy play. It was very fun to watch. I feel bad for Bills fans, obviously. They scored with, 30-something seconds left. Beautiful throw by Josh Allen to Stephon Diggs in the corner of the end zone. You're feeling pretty confident, 30-26. You go up, you're feeling like, oh yeah, we got this game in the bag. Your defense lets up a couple throws, 11 seconds left. Murray gets chased out of the pocket, throws up a Hail Mary, triple coverage to DeAndre Hopkins, the best catch I've seen in a very long time. So we'll get into that in a little bit. These are the topics for today. Miami did, in fact, win on Saturday. We'll talk about that later on the podcast. These are the topics, though, as we get into it here. We got the NFL games / the Giants. Give you a whole run-through of the recap, the Sunday in football, the 10th Sunday of the year we saw football, so it's very good. We'll go kind of not preview Week 11, but I'll probably run through just the games in Week 11 and things like that. So Week 10 is in the books. Tonight we obviously had the Vikings-Bears game, so I'll talk about that game as well. Fantasy football results will give you how I did in each league. Not a great week in fantasy, but I still have one player to play in one of the leagues, so it's difficult, but it's still possible. And I have college football games as well, / Miami. Miami played, obviously, on Saturday. Game went into Virginia Tech, got a big comeback win. They were down 24-13 for a little bit there. Were able to come back, crawl their way back, won 25-24. So a big win for Miami. Even though they dropped in the rankings, they are still top 15. They're number 12, I think, now. Even though they dropped in the rankings, they still, a lot of people expected them to go in there and lose that game. They went in there, made a comeback dub, and won the game. So Miami, obviously, moves to 7-1 on the year, and they have Georgia Tech coming up next week. So with all that being said, we'll get right into it here. This is the BSN podcast, and let's get it right into it. So this was another very good week of football. I very much enjoyed watching the NFL once again for Week 10. Week 10 of the NFL season was yesterday. It was very, 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 very fun watching all the games. I really enjoyed it. Hopefully you did as well. Yesterday I did crack 100 wins overall for my fantasy or for my NFL game picks, which was pretty exciting. Getting up there a little bit each week. There's something new. So now my goal is, like I said, to around 115, 120 is now my goal. And if I surpass that, then I'll set a new goal. My goal was to hit 100. Now I hit 100. So now my other goal is to hit around 110, 115, which I think is reasonable. I only need 13 more wins in the next 7 weeks. So I think that's reasonable. And then if I hit that goal, then I'll move on to my next goal, which would probably be around 125, 130. My ultimate goal is to hopefully, the way things are going, is to get around 135 to 140. That kind of was just quick, kind of in my head. If I calculate, I don't know if that's possible. But if you think about, if I get about 9 wins a week or 10 wins a week, that leaves me to about 130, 140 on about the final week of the season. So it's definitely possible there. But we'll obviously see how all that pans out. This week, I had a decent week. I mean, it wasn't amazing, but like I said, I didn't have to have that great of a week to surpass 102 or to surpass 100. I had 94, so all I needed was a 6-win week. I got 8. It wasn't the best week in the world, but I'm 8-5 right now, so that moves my record to 102 and 49 on the year. Obviously, I was 94 and 44. Now 6 plus 8 wins, that gets to 102. Plus 5 losses, that puts me to 49. So 102 and 49, and that leaves me at 53 picks above 500, so I'm in a very good position to finish the year way over by 500, and I moved to 8-5. I had an 8-5 week this week, so depending on how tonight's game goes, I either have another 9-5 week or another 8-6 week. 9-5 week seems to be my magical number. I've gone 2-3 of those already, so 9-5 seems to be a week I get often, so I wouldn't be surprised if I get 9-5 again this week, and I do feel confident about my pick tonight. I think it's going to be fairly obvious of who's going to win tonight's game. But with all that being said, let's get into the picks, or let's get into the games. Like I said, 102 and 49 on the year for my game picks, which I'm pretty excited about. I mean, I think that's pretty good, I guess. I mean, I don't really know, if you look at other people, I don't know how their picks are. I don't know. Some people might be 140 and 1 for all we know. So but for my standards, I think 102 and 49 is pretty good. Got over the 100 win mark, so that is good. Now let's recap week 10 of the NFL season here. We're going to start off with the New York Giants, like I always do. No Jets. The Jets did not play this week. They had a bye week. They do play next week against the Chargers, so no Jets today. But we do have the NFL. We do have the New York Giants and the rest of the NFL. So with all that being said, it was a very long intro. Let's get into it here. Not really. I mean, I finished the intro a little bit ago. But anyway, let's get into the games here. So the New York Giants won against the Philadelphia Eagles 27-17. The New York Giants played very good. I mean, played very, very, very good. I think the New York Giants went out there. I think they played, they moved the ball well. I would say that, to say the very least, they moved the ball very well. They overall, and this might sound obvious, but they overall played a good football game. And they overall, I think, were the better team that day and yesterday, and I think the Eagles. And to kind of just get into the Giants, and we'll get into the Eagles in just a bit here. I'm not going to take too long because we still obviously have the rest of the NFL games. But to kind of give you a quick run through what happened in this game, I thought the Giants early on controlled the tempo. I mean, I thought early on the Giants went out there. They played very well early on, and that's one of the things I've said in sports for a very long time, especially in baseball. I noticed a lot in baseball. I noticed a lot more comeback wins in football. I mean, you've seen it 50 times this year already, comeback wins. I mean, you've seen what happens to the Falcons, what has happened to the Bengals, what has happened to the Chargers. So many wins this year have been off of comebacks. I've said it so many times in baseball, especially, where it's tough to come back, and getting off to those quick starts is very huge, and that's what the New York Giants did yesterday. They got off to a quick start. Their first drive right up the field was like there was no defending. I mean, there literally was no defense. I mean, they drove right up the field like it was nothing. They looked like a division winner on that first drive yesterday, and I will compliment them. You know that they played good when I compliment the New York Giants, because I've said it for a long time now. I don't compliment the Giants much. To be honest, I I think a lot of what they do is not very good. I don't think they are very good. I think there's a lot of parts of them that need to be fixed. I think most of their team needs to be fixed. I still think their quarterback is a huge issue. I don't think Daniel Jones is the future. But I do think he played a good game yesterday. But back to my point, the Giants, they played good when I give them a compliment, because I give the Giants very little to none compliments. Same thing with the New York Jets. I very rarely give the Jets a compliment, because I've seen them every week play for the past many, many, many years now, and I know how bad they are. It's tough to find a positive in the Jets game. And same thing with the Giants. I find the Giants are not very good. It's tough to find a place in their game where they played well. But yesterday, I really noticed early on that not only did they control the game, but their run game was amazing. I mean, Daniel Jones was running all over this Eagles defense. And like I said, this Eagles defense just couldn't do anything. I mean, this Eagles defense could not do anything to stop this Eagles defense cannot do anything to stop this Giants team early on in the game. And that is really where I noticed, obviously three touchdowns yesterday. All three of their touchdowns yesterday, right? They had what? Yeah, all three of their touchdowns yesterday, okay, people? All three of their touchdowns were on the run. And that is what I said. That's what I'm saying right now, is they controlled the run game. They not only do it very well early on in the game, but they did it very well throughout the game. I mean, Wayne Gallman had 53 yards and 2 touchdowns, and Daniel Jones had 64 yards and a touchdown. Daniel Jones obviously had the score. Not only did they control it throughout the game, and they had a good run game going throughout the game, early on in that game, did you see the first drive, how the Giants went quickly down the field and scored quickly? I mean, it was like there was nothing in front of them. It was like there wasn't even a defense. I don't know what in the world the Eagles defense was doing with the New York Giants in the first quarter. They marched down the field so quickly, it wasn't even funny. I think there might have been 1 second down. That's how quickly the Giants went down the field and scored. It was unbelievable. They scored so quickly, and like I said earlier, that set the tempo for the game. They went up 7-0. The Eagles end up coming back, kicking a field goal, 7-3. Now you're going to the second quarter and you score again. There it is, 14-3, boom, right, just like that. Wayne Gallman had that huge diving touchdown. He goes in, boom, just like that. You got yourself a 14-3 game going into half. Okay, at this point going into the half, I remember, talking to the people I was watching the game with. I remember I was saying, yeah, this game is pretty much over. I don't think the Eagles coming back. That is the worst Eagles offense I've seen in a long time. Their offense looked flat. I mean, their offense looked absolutely flat, and I think the Giants defense went out there and they stopped them on some big plays. I mean, they did. There was a couple big plays they let up, but not enough to, really get them down to the end zone. I thought their defensive line caused a lot of pressure. I thought Carson Wentz looked silly. I mean, I thought Wentz did not play good yesterday, and I've kept on saying this for a long time. To be honest, both the quarterbacks we saw in yesterday's games, I don't think are the franchise quarterbacks for either team. I personally don't think Daniel Jones, and a lot of Giants fans may say, oh, well, he had a good game yesterday. Well, look at his whole career. He's been awful, right? And you think, and you look at Wentz, oh, well, he's been playing decent in the past. Yeah, look at his whole career. He hasn't been good anyway, either way. So I thought both quarterbacks yesterday played decent, but Carson Wentz especially. He looked lost. He did not look good. That defense line was causing pressure, and overall, Carson Wentz just did not play a good game. And I think a lot of people were talking about Wentz, and that was one of the reasons I took the Eagles there. He's getting one of his main assets back, and you're getting your main asset back in Alshon Jeffrey. He had 1 target yesterday. He was nothing. I mean, you're excited about getting a big guy back. You're excited about getting a guy like Alshon Jeffrey back, and you target the guy once. And I'm pretty sure that 1 target might have been his first throw of the game. And guess what? He threw the ball to 36 more times. He threw it a total of 37. Alshon Jeffrey got 1 target. Now, I don't know if it was because they were locking him down. I didn't really pay attention completely that much. But they did not target Alshon Jeffrey at all. All these Eagles fans were talking about, oh, we got Jeffrey back. Oh, look, Wentz and Jeffrey, this is a great combo. He targeted him once. And the New York Giants secondary, Logan Ryan, James Bradbury, Jabril Peppers, guys like that in their secondary, the leaders in that secondary, did an amazing job stopping Alshon Jeffrey yesterday. Then we move into the second half. The Eagles make a little bit of a comeback. It is then 21-17. Makes things interesting going to the fourth quarter, and the Eagles, their fourth quarter looked like their first half. Awful, could not move the ball, struggled. They lose 27-17. Giants move to 3-7 on the year. Eagles fall to 3-5-1. And these are the numbers. Daniel Jones went 21-28, 244 yards, 11.6 was his average, 3 sacks, and his rating was 100.9. So, he had a pretty good game. No touchdowns. He didn't, or no passing touchdowns. He did not turn the ball over, which is a huge accomplishment for Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones had 9 carries for 64 yards. 7.1 was his average. He got to the end zone on obviously once. He scored. Wayne Gallman had 18 carries for 53 yards, 2.9 was his average, and he had 2 touchdowns. He had a couple big touchdowns in that game. Obviously, he had 2. Alfred Morris had 8 carries, 34 yards, 4.3 was his average, and he had he had no touchdowns. Darius Slayton left the game on the second play of the game. So the Giants started off this game awful. Okay, the Giants started off this game awful. Not their first drive. I mean, it was their first drive, but it wasn't. The rest of that drive was smooth. But the way this game started, the first 2 plays were bad for the Giants. So the first play, Jones got sacked. Then the second play, Darius Slayton got injured. So when I was watching that, I was like, "Oh, here we go. This is a sign of something. It's a sign of something for this day." You could just tell the Giants are not going to play good football today. And sure enough, the Giants ended up playing good. But it was one of those things where like, "Oh, is this really going to be that kind of day?" Jones is just going to get sacked 10 times. We're going to get all of our receivers are just going to get injured. Is this really going to be that day? Then you had Slayton had 5 catches for 7 targets, 5 catches, 93 yards. He had a good game. Shepard had 6 targets, 6 catches, 47 yards. Shepard's a very quality receiver. I think he's pretty good. Golden Tate had 2 catches for 5 targets, 2 catches, 44 yards. He had a nice catch there as well. Not getting the ball much, which I don't really blame the New York Giants. I think Tate should be gone. Big complainer, and his wife's been getting involved with stuff on the football. No. In my opinion, these players should just focus on the game. And now, this outside noise is very frustrating, I'm sure, for teams and guys like Joe Judge who are trying to coach his team to get wins. And you've got outside noise coming in about Golden Tate. For the Eagles, Carson Wentz went 21-37. Both quarterbacks, by the way, yesterday, it did endure 3 sacks. Wentz went 21-37, 208 yards, 9.9 was his average. He had 3 sacks and a rating of 72.8. Miles Sanders had 15 carries, 85 yards, and 5.7 was his average. Boston Scott had 3 carries for 63 yards, 21 was his average, a touchdown. Corey Clement had 1 carry, 5 yards, 5 was his average, and a touchdown. And that kind of does it for the scoring for the Philadelphia Eagles yesterday, as obviously very, 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 very very difficult loss for the Eagles, and I said this on Friday. I mean, this is a huge game for the division. Now, both these teams' schedules are very, very, very tough, so I don't think the division winner is decided yet. Giants are still back a game, but very well if the Giants beat the Bengals this week and the Eagles lose, there's a very good chance that the Giants are going to be the division leader. In that case, they would, but both these teams' schedule are brutal down the stretch, so it's going to be interesting to see how the NFC East is. Both these teams are very bad, and both these teams, whoever wins this NFC East is probably going to get blown out first playoff game. But what I'm going to try to sit here and tell you people is who knows? I mean, you never know, right? You never know what's going to happen. I mean, for all we know, the Redskins could still come up and win. So, the Redskins aren't completely out of it. No one's out of it in this division. You're starting to see by week 10 now, it's starting to form, okay, here are the teams, but it's still a complete toss-up. I mean, the Cowboys at 2-7 are still, if the Giants lose this week and the Cowboys, let's just say, win, the Cowboys are right back in the mix. I mean, literally, any team in this division is still in the mix. Now, you're starting to see it shape out a little bit. You're starting to see, kind of all blocks scatter. You're starting to see the puzzle pieces come together, and you're starting to see, okay, this team's going to be in, this team isn't, and Cowboys are starting to fall away. But still, they're still very well in it. If the Jets was in the NFC East, they would still technically be in it. Jets are obviously out of it, but it would make things. It's interesting. It's a very interesting division. It's very bad, but this is going to be one of the last decided divisions. This could very well come down to a Week 17 matchup of the Giants and the Eagles, not playing against each other, but the Giants have the Cowboys Week 17. I forget who the Eagles have. And that could come down to that. And whoever wins is 5-11 playoff team. Here we go, right? The team that comes out of this, because you look at the Giants probably have realistically 2 winnable games left on their schedule. As a matter of fact, let me pull up their upcoming schedule. The Giants probably have, I'm pretty sure the Giants have only about, realistically, the Giants might only have 2 winnable games left on their schedule. Okay, you have the Bengals coming up. That's winnable. Personally, I don't think they will win, but that's winnable. Then you have the Seahawks. You ain't winning that one. You have the Cardinals. You ain't winning that one. Browns. You ain't winning that one. And the Ravens. You ain't winning that one. Then you have the Cowboys. That's winnable. So realistically, the Giants, bearing an upset by the end of those next 4 teams that I just named, the Seahawks, Cardinals, Browns, Ravens, bearing any of upsets, the Giants have 2 winnable games coming up. So that would put the Giants coming out of the season at 5-11, more than likely, if they win those 2 winnable games. And as for the Eagles don't really have any winnable games at all. The Eagles have the Browns, that's tough. Seahawks, Packers, Saints, Cardinals. Their final 2 games are winnable. So both these teams, this is what's going to make it, both these teams have 2 winnable games the rest of the way. The Eagles have the Cowboys and the Redskins. Those are 2 winnable games. And the Giants have the Bengals and the Cowboys. The Eagles' rest of their schedule consists of the Browns, Seahawks, Packers, Saints, Cardinals, right? So both these teams realistically have 2 winnable games coming up. So if it goes as planned, the outcome would probably be the Eagles in the playoffs because they have the tie, so they would have less losses. They would be 5-10-1. Giants would be 5-11. So realistically, if it goes as planned, Eagles are in the playoffs. Eagles just have to win the games they got to win, and the Giants, obviously, Giants can't lose the rest of the year. If the Giants lose one more time this year, their season's likely done. I don't care if the Eagles lose 5 more times. If the Giants lose once more, that's going to put you at, 3-8? Then you're going to have to win your next 3 out of the 4 next games or whatever. So if the Giants have to kind of win out, the Eagles, they have a little bit more leverage. I mean, they're only a half game up, but still, you're the leader of the division. So if the Giants lose and the Eagles lose, the Eagles are still the leader of the division. So here's the whole thing. The Eagles can't lose on a week that the Giants win. Put at that. Let's go to the next games. Let's go to the Ravens and the Patriots. This was a very interesting game. I was not expecting the outcome to this game to be the case. The Patriots won 23-17. And I thought the Patriots went out there watching that game. I thought Cam Newton went out there. He played very well. I thought they established the run game just like the Giants early on. Cam Newton played very well. I thought Cam Newton made a lot of good plays. I thought this defense stepped up. This defense made a big interception. Josh Jackson made a big interception late in the first half. You know, the Ravens, this really costed the Ravens. The Ravens obviously go downfield to kick a field goal. They try to take one deep shot. Did not work out. Interception by Jackson to end the half. That by far, once that interception happened, I had a good feeling the Patriots were going to take this one to the house and win it all. Obviously, because it was a very, 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 very tough interception to overcome there. That was a bad interception, to say the very least. Threw the ball, underthrew Marquise Brown. Good defense, intercepted it. And the Patriots went on the win. Patriots, this was not a game that we were all expecting to win. They moved to 4-5 on the year. And the Patriots right now, they go into the game next week against the Texans as favorites. You know, who knows, the Patriots, right? They could possibly be the Patriots could possibly be 5-5. So, you know, the Patriots right now all of a sudden are one of these teams that you're looking at that are, possibly on the top of your list as, possibilities to, possibly make a late playoff run. So the Patriots moved to 4-5. This was a must-win game for the Patriots. Last week was a must-win game for the Patriots. Patriots almost rest of the way are some must-win games. So if the Patriots want to make the playoffs, they got to continue this winning way. They played good last night. I don't like to give Patriots the credit, but they did play good. A sloppy game in the rain, but ultimately they did come out with the victory. Patriots win 23-17. Steelers and the Bengals. Steelers won this one very easily, 36-10. There's a lot of rumors swirling around. Sorry. Try to say that 10 times fast. There was a lot of rumors going around about is Ben Roethlisberger going to play? Is this Steelers team going to be, fine playing? Ben Roethlisberger only participated in Saturday's walkthroughs. He was obviously on the reserve COVID list. He didn't have it, but he was in close contact with somebody. He was in the. There's different categories. There was in contact. Then there was close contact, and there's one that's like extreme contact, meaning like you were literally talking to the dude that day tested positive. He was actually in the extreme contact category, I think, which means he was really close to the guy. I don't know whether it was a receiver. I don't know who tested positive. It might have been a receiver or an offensive lineman. Realistically, that's the only two that he really could have been close contact with. But he was in extreme contact, and he tested negative. So, obviously, when he was talking to him, either, they were far enough apart, whatever the case may be. Whenever he was near the guy that tested positive, he was able to test negative. I think you have to test negative twice in order to come out on the field. So, he obviously was there only for Saturday walkthroughs, and other than that, he wasn't there the whole week. So, there was a lot of rumors swirling around about is he going to play, is he isn't, if he does play, is he going to be fine, what's going to happen, because they barely practice together as a week. That's almost like saying a guy has to practice all week, now you just throw him in at quarterback, right? So, but they went out there. Played a team that I think is pretty good, dominated their defense. Bengals offense couldn't get anything going. It was another tough day for the Bengals, and I thought this game was going to be closer than what it showed. I think the Steelers were going to win, but a lot of people had them winning by 20 plus. They did end up winning by 26, but I was not expecting it to be that big of a blowout. With all the things that happened throughout the week, I still think the Bengals are a decent team. How the Steelers came out last week and almost lost to the Cowboys, who a lot of people think who are a train wreck, was not expecting that, but. It is pretty crazy. So it is pretty crazy. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the Steelers down the stretch. They're obviously 9-0 now. They got a couple good opponents coming up. It's gonna be fun to watch. Keep an eye out for this Steelers team. Next up, we got the Saints and the 49ers. This game was kind of, from the start, it looked like the Niners were going to win this game. Drew Brees obviously got injured. We'll get to that in just a second here. But obviously, we heard about Drew Brees and the injury. He took a rib injury yesterday. Luckily, Winston did come in, and luckily, Winston finished out the job. When Winston came in, I'm sure a lot of Saints fans were nervous. Just because you're missing Breeze, he's in, but obviously it's going to be interesting to see. But obviously the Saints are in fact victory yesterday. Drew Brees is getting an MRI today on his ribs. A lot of people think it's a rib contusion, and the Saints front office, people close to the Saints, think he's going to miss some time. So the real question now comes down to with the Saints is it going to be Taysom Hill or Jameis Winston? It's probably going to come down to practice. Who's going to start for the New Orleans Saints at quarterback? That's going to be a question that the Saints are going to have to answer this week. Niners came out firing. Niners came out playing pretty well. They were winning 7-0. I think they were winning 10-0, and the Saints added on with a big second quarter and decided to take the lead 17-10, and from there on, the Niners just could not get their footing back. Saints win that one 27-13. By far the best game I've seen all year. The Arizona Cardinals versus the Buffalo Bills. Cardinals came out victorious in this one, 32-30. Both teams played very well. Bills played very well. Cardinals played very well. Ultimately, it came down to the final play of the game. 11 seconds left. Kyler Murray gets the ball. Kind of give you a little bit of a run through. Kyler Murray gets the ball. Hike, snaps it. Gets the ball. Kyler Murray in the pocket. About 6 seconds left. Now, when this was happening, I was watching the game, and I was thinking to myself, no way he gets it. Now, I was like, no way this is completed. First off, I know it's Kyler Murray. I know it's DeAndre Hopkins. You have to be on another level to do this. They are, in fact, on another level, I guess. But when he snapped and he was rolling out, I was like, he's wasting so much time. He was like, 5 seconds have already gone off the clock. I'm like, dude, 5 seconds have already gone off the clock. He was rolling. I don't know who it was. It might have been Oliver who applied the pressure. He throws the ball. Now, I don't know if he saw him. I don't know if he just threw it up hoping that someone would get there, because at that point in the game, you can't run it. You can't take the sack, or the last thing you could do is just throw it out of bounds, because you're wasting 8 seconds there or whatever. Yeah, they wasted 9 seconds because it was 2 seconds remaining left. So they wasted 9 seconds on that play. The last thing you want to do is just throw it out of bounds. You got to take a chance downfield. Murray rolls out to his left, rolls out, throws on the one, throws on the run, throws the ball up. Now, you're thinking, okay, DeAndre Hopkins, three guys on DeAndre Hopkins, 3 guys, no, not 1, not 2, 3 guys, and a 4th just outside of it that you could say technically 4 because he was probably within the 5-yard range, but 3 guys on DeAndre Hopkins. Literally. They were surrounding him, too. It wasn't like it was just 3 guys in zone coverage. It was 3 guys right on him. And it was a complete jump ball, and the one guy, the catch probability on that, Amazon Web Services with the whole, the catch probability. The catch probability on that, I bet you, was below 1%. You're telling me Kyler Murray throws the ball up to DeAndre Hopkins, triple coverage in the end zone. Hopkins catches it. That's the game. Bills ended up getting the kickoff. They tried to do the lateral play. It didn't work out for them. And they ended up losing. A heartbreaking game. And this is a tough one to swallow. And it's very tough when you're going into a bye week. Because a lot of these teams that have these tough losses, or a player who makes a mistake late in the game, like to go back out there and quickly play again to make up for it. But sure enough, that was not the case. Cardinals go out there and win 32-30. The Rams went out and beat the Seahawks yesterday 23-16. Watch out for the Seahawks. Seahawks are struggling. Russell Wilson played bad yesterday. He had 2 interceptions. This Rams defense is very good. I mean, Jalen Ramsey completely shut down DK Metcalf. He had, 2 catches for 33 yards, I think. Completely shut him down. And the Rams dominated this game from start to finish. And I think you could really tell the Seahawks, when their passing game wasn't going yesterday, you could really tell they missed Chris Carson in that run game. But ultimately, the Seahawks did, in fact, lose, and the Rams did, in fact, go out there and win. Goff had a good game, a couple other good games by a couple guys on offense. Defensively, they stopped what a lot of people think is the best quarterback and the best offense in all the NFL. So, Rams went out there and played very well. Raiders and Broncos. Drew Lock, some of his decision-making late in the first half, some of his decision-making overall in that game really hurt him. I'm starting to lean towards the side that I'm wrong on Lock. I don't know if Lock's the guy for the Broncos. I think I thought very highly of Lock. I mean, I've said so many times I think he could win MVP. Not this year, one of these years, but it doesn't seem that's the way, and I'm kind of leaning towards that's possibly another prediction I could have got wrong there. I am leaning towards the Kyler Murray, though, that I do think I think my prediction on Kyler Murray was correct. When Kyler Murray came out of college, I said, this guy's might win a couple Super Bowls and is going to win a ton of MVPs, and then that might be the case. He might win one this year, so. But the Raiders went out there and dominated the Broncos at every angle of the ball. Drew Lock, like I said, a couple bad decisions costed them. Raiders win 37-12. Dolphins and the Chargers. I thought this game was going to be a lot more high scoring, a lot more entertaining than what it really was. Not that it wasn't entertaining. I really wasn't watching this game. This was the game. I was watching the Giants and the other games. But this game was, it was a close game. I was expecting this game to be a lot more high scoring, both teams in the 30s. I was expecting like a 38-35. I don't know what my exact pick was. But I was expecting a high scoring game. It wasn't as high scoring. It was still 29-21, but I was expecting a lot more. I was expecting a big day out of Herbert too, and I don't really think Herbert had a big day. He threw for 187 yards and 2 touchdowns still, but it wasn't like some of his 300-yard games. They had 2, obviously played pretty well as well. He hit 169 yards. He played pretty well as well. This Dolphins team, they're 6-3 right now. Their defense is winning these games for them. Their defense has been making special teams defense, has been stepping up and making some huge plays late in games. Big win for the Miami Dolphins, 29-21. As they move to 6-3 on the year. Watch out. They're creeping up on the Buffalo Bills. That's going to be an interesting race to the rest of the division. Dolphins win. Now we have the Buccaneers and the Panthers. Buccaneers came out in this one a little slow. Tom Brady, I don't know, something about Tom Brady. I still don't know if he's the guy. I still don't know if he's the guy. I just don't know if he's the guy. And I'm sorry for all you Tom Brady fans out there. I don't like Tom Brady, but I'm sorry to all your Buccaneers fans out there. He still does not look like the guy that's going to lead you to the Super Bowl. And I understand he threw 3 touchdowns yesterday and stuff, but he missed so many balls. This is a guy who's missing so many times again. And I just don't know if this offensive line too is going to keep him upright all the time. I don't know. Something about it. Buccaneers did win this game, and Brady was able to throw 3 touchdowns. But I just don't know. Something about Brady. I just don't know if he's the answer for this team. Buccaneers did, in fact, win. Watch out. Teddy Bridgewater got injured yesterday. Another knee injury. Luckily, it was not the knee injury he had. The same knee he had a couple years ago. Obviously, we all know that. It was a horrible knee injury. So hopefully he's okay. And if he isn't, then this Panthers team, who obviously was 3-6, now they're 3-7. This is a Panthers team that could very well go crumbling down the rest of the year. We move on to another great game this week. We have the Lions and the Redskins on here, the football team on. Lions and Washington. Lions were winning this game 24-20. The Lions were winning. They won this game 30-27. Lions were winning this game 24-3. And they were dominating. They were dominating. Washington couldn't do anything with the ball. They weren't moving it, weren't doing anything. Nothing. And sure enough, the football team decided to crawl their way back. Washington decided to crawl their way back. And they took the lead, I think, 27-24, right? It was ended up a 27-27 game, and it all came down to a big kick by Matt Prater, a 59-yard field goal by Matt Prater, and the Washington crawled all the way back. Sure enough, Washington loses. Detroit comes out victorious, but it was a very close game. And Washington, I know they lost, but the way they come back in that game showed that team's got a lot of fight in it. Alex Smith played well. Washington lost. But Detroit wins that game. Detroit's still hanging around. They're 4-5. I don't think they're going to make it, but they're still hanging around. They're not completely out of it. They're still hanging around there in the conversation. We move on to the Jaguars and the Packers. This game was awfully close for a long time, and if I was Packers fans, I would be a little concerned about midway through that game. Devontae Adams had an injury. He ended up coming back, and the Packers could not really get moving. Devontae Adams fumbled. Rodgers, I think, had an interception as well. They were struggling a little bit there. I mean, they were really struggling a little bit there. There was definitely times in that game where they were struggling a little bit. But ultimately, the Packers, I think, were just a better team, and I think we can all agree on that. The Jaguars are a team that's tanking. You know, they're looking to more than likely get the second pick. With how the Jets are playing, it doesn't seem like they're going to get the first pick. But the Jaguars lose again. Packers win 24-20. Close game all game. Packers do pull it out late. Texans. Browns won this one in a rain delay. This one was in a rain delay for a little bit there. Texans lost this game. Offense was awful. Nick Chubb returned for the Browns helped them, and sure enough, the Browns went out and won 10-7. Obviously, we talked about the Giants and Eagles, and the Colts Titans was on Thursday. Now we move on to tonight's game. We got the Minnesota Vikings 3.5-point favorites versus the Chicago Bears, who the over-under is 44 for this game. So 8:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This game is on. Should be a pretty good game. Injuries: Vikings, Dantzler concussion is questionable, and Smith groin is out. Questionables for the Bears: Allen Robinson knee is questionable. He is expected to play. Mingo shoulder questionable. Cole Kmet groin questionable. Spriggs knee is questionable. Musfer knee is doubtful. Montgomery concussion is out. Jenkins ankle is out. Trubisky right shoulder out, and McMahon's hand is out. Let's go through the league rankings. The Vikings are 12th in the league in points per game, and the Bears are 30th. Points per game allowed: Vikings 27th, Bears 7th. Total yards per game: Vikings 9th, Bears 30th. Pass yards per game: Vikings 25th, Bears 20th. Rush yards per game: Vikings 4th and the Bears 32nd. And yards per game allowed: Vikings 30th, Bears 9th. So, with all that being said, this is my game pick tonight. I know the Vikings are the worst record here, but I do give the Vikings the win here tonight. I do think they will win tonight's game. I think it's gonna be a pretty good game. I think they cover. I think they cover pretty easily, and I think they cover pretty easily here. Let me get my pick. Let me get it up here. Okay, so here we go. So this is my pick for tonight's game. I have the Vikings winning 31-21. Let me go over to my calculator. 31 plus 21, that equals 52. So, 31-21. I think I have the Vikings winning 31-21. I have them covering, and I take the over on the over-under of 44. That is my pick for tonight's game. So, that's my pick for tonight's Monday night game. Should be a pretty good game. I think they win pretty easily, but it should be overall a pretty good game. Coming up next, we got fantasy football results coming up. Alrighty, so let's get this up here. Alrighty. Okay, so let's get this up here. Okay. Alrighty, so we're going to now move into fantasy football results. Alrighty. So, let's see. Fantasy football? Okay. Sorry about that. I was just doing an update here. Chris Paul got traded to the Phoenix Suns for a lot. For a lot, to say the very least. So Chris Paul got traded to the Phoenix Suns. That's breaking news. By the way, tomorrow, the Nets also made a trade early. Tomorrow I'm going to kind of be doing a ton of stuff on the NBA trade deadline. I'm going to kind of make a whole NBA trade deadline thing. And then on Wednesday, I'm going to be talking about the NBA draft and then MLB stuff as well. Because there's a lot of MLB trade stuff going on and a lot of NBA trade stuff going on. So we'll kind of talk about those both. Tomorrow I'll talk about that, and obviously as well as on Wednesday I'll talk about baseball a little bit as well. So these are the fantasy results for this week in fantasy football. Not great for either league, although I'm still holding out hope in one of my leagues. Let's move into it. So one of my leagues I'm losing right now, 93 to 81. I still do have Allen Robinson to play, and according to this... Drop my pen again. According to this, Allen Robinson knee is expected to suit up against the Vikings on Monday. Adam Kaplan of SiriusXM NFL Radio reports. So that's the plan there. Now, you did not know what I had to do in fantasy because I did not do pods on the weekend, but kind of get you caught up here. I had to make some moves on fantasy. So David Johnson got placed on IR. Chris Carson was out. That's leaving my two running backs out. See you later. Then you had Ezekiel Elliott and Todd Gurley on bye week. So the worst week I could have injury happened. It happened. And sure enough, I had to pick up Duke Johnson. He had 5 points. And I had to pick up Giovanni Bernard. He had 4 points. So I had to pick up two running backs that I was not confident in. And sure enough, they did, in fact, not do anything for me. They got me in 9 combined points. And my opponent's running back, one of them alone, got 18. So ultimately, it was not good, but tonight I still have a good shot at winning. This was how the points went. Aaron Rodgers got me 29, Duke Johnson 5, Giovanni Bernard 4, Devontae Adams 10. Allen Robinson was out, or Allen Robinson plays today. Rob Gronkowski got me 11, Robert Woods 3, Eagles defense 2, Daniel Carlson 15. My bench, Ellie was on a bye, Juju at 13, Chris Carson was out, DJ Moore at 15, David Johnson was IR. Todd Gurley, Matt Ryan were on bye weeks, and obviously George Kittle's also on an IR. So injuries just keep on piling up for me. 93-81 I'm losing right now. So I'm still confident. Allen Robinson's projected to get 9 points today, which would put me at 93 to 91. I need Robinson to get me... I'm projected to have 91 points by the end of today. So I need Robinson to get me 13 points tonight, which isn't too much to ask for because he can do it. He's already had this year. He's had an 18-point game, a 16-point game, and a 14-point game. So I need him to at least get me 13. 12 would tie 13 to win. So I need him to get me 13 points. So 13 points personally would be, I think, is possible. I think he needs, 80 yards, 70 yards and a touchdown. I mean, realistically, people, he needs about 70 yards and a touchdown to get 13 points. And that's not very difficult. I mean, he had it early on in the year. I mean, he had 6. The 1 week he got 14. He had 87 yards and a touchdown. That's not crazy difficult. 70 yards for a receiver isn't that amazing. Isn't that much? So there's that small chance that he does get there. I think it's a pretty big chance. I do think he could possibly get 13 tonight. As long as he plays and he plays most of the game. I mean, he was questionable, but they say he's going to play. And I need him to literally get me 13. I mean, he gets 81 yards. Like last week, got 8 points because he got 81 yards. If he just adds on a touchdown, boom, just like that. He literally needs like 70 yards and a touchdown. That would be to get the least. He's averaging about 80 yards a game. He's averaging this season about 10 points a game. So I need him to get a little over that average, which I think is possible. But I'm just hoping that he can do it. And I'm hoping that Foles throws the ball to him. Because if it's one of those games where he's just not getting the ball, it's going to be frustrating for me. He could literally have 10 yards and 2 touchdowns, and that would get the job done. So I hope that he gets somewhere around the 70 to 80 range and a touchdown. And if he doesn't get a touch, he almost needs a touchdown. Let's put it at that. He almost needs a touchdown tonight. If he doesn't get a touchdown, he's going to need 130 yards, and that's a lot. That's a lot. He's going to need a touchdown. For him, who's not a crazy yards receiver, he's going to need a touchdown. And as for my other league, I'm losing 111 to 100. And he's still got Adam Thielen to play. So I lost this week in my other league, which was a frustrating loss, a big loss. But, gotta hope that I come back and win next week. Deshaun Watson at 13 points, James Robinson 10, Antonio Gibson 18, Mike Evans 13, Keenan Allen 9, Chris Godwin 9, Hunter Henry 9, A.J. Brown 2, Eagles defense 2, Daniel Carlson 15. My bench was Tyreek Hill bye week, Kenyon Drake had 8, Rams defense at 13. Hindsight 2020 should have probably played him. Clyde Edwards-Helaire had a bye week. Joe Burrow at 12 and Edmonds at 7. And he's still got Thielen to play. So unless if Thielen fumbles 10 times, I'm going to lose this game. So 111 to 100. And in my other league, I'm still losing, but hopefully Robinson does get me the 13 points there. And as for college football, we'll get that up right now. All right, so it was another good week in college football this week as well. Let's move into the games. Wisconsin crushed Michigan 49-11. Michigan ain't the same this season. They're really struggling. Oregon won 43-29. Tulsa won 28-24. Florida won 63-35. Northwestern won 27-20. USC won 34-30. Notre Dame won 45-31. They got the comeback win. Louisiana won 38-10. Marshall won 42-14. Liberty won 58-14. Indiana won 24-0. And Cincinnati, obviously, that was on Friday. Today, it does not look like there's no games on today. No. Either way, I would be watching Monday Night Football. Let's see, though. Is there any games on tomorrow? There are games on tomorrow. So, tomorrow we have Buffalo, Bowling Green, and Akron, Kent State. And then Wednesday, you've got 3 games. Tomorrow, we got 2 games. Wednesday, you got 3 games. Thursday, you've got 2 games. Friday, you've got a whole stash of games. You've got 5 games or whatever. So that's the deal there. So with all that being said, we'll get to Miami here. Miami played pretty well. They won 25-24, but like I said, people were expecting them to get upset. People were expecting them to lose, so them getting a win proves a lot of people wrong. A lot of people don't believe in this Miami team. I personally do. Do I think they're the best team in the nation? No. Do I think they are? They might be a slight bit, to the point where I don't want to say overrated, but they could be better. I mean, there's definitely parts of their game that could be better. I mean, I would even go on and say that they could have been better in a couple parts of their games on that game on Saturday. I do think there was a couple parts of that game on Saturday that I really do think they could have played better in. But ultimately, at the end of the day, a win is a win, and they did go out there and get the win 25-24. Derek King had another good game. He had another good game. He had 24-38, 255 yards and a touchdown. So he obviously played pretty well there. Cameron Harris had a couple good runs. He had a touchdown as well. There was overall a pretty good game for the Miami Hurricanes, and ultimately, like I said, they went out there and got the win, and that's all that matters. At the end of the day in sports, and I was talking to somebody this over the weekend, at the end of the day in sports, you could always say these coaches, even the coaches would say it so many times, in any sport, baseball, basketball, name any sport, soccer. I don't watch soccer. You can name it. Name any sport. Name a sport that I don't even know. You can name soccer. I don't watch soccer. I don't care about soccer. Any sport, okay? You could go on and say hockey, basketball, whatever. You could go out there and play hard. And if you lose that game, that doesn't matter. That loss won't go into the, we played hard, but we lost category. That's going to go into the L category. And the win isn't going to go into win, but we played horrible category. It's going to go into the win category. And a tie is going to go into the tie category. So you could sit there and say, we played so good. We've been in all these games. Well, if you're not winning the games, that doesn't matter. So back to Miami's point. They might have not played their best football on Saturday. They maybe had to come from behind and win. But at the end of the day, a win is a win. You win a game 3-0, and your quarterback throws 20 interceptions. Okay, maybe I'm taking it a little too far. But if you win a game 3-0 and your offense was awful, and you were just off. I mean, the Browns yesterday, they won 10-7. I mean, their offense was awful. Their defense was good. I mean, no one's offense was good that game. Still, though, it doesn't go into, the win, but our offense was awful category. It goes into the win category. So the same thing with Miami. Although Miami didn't play that good, and I will admit, I did get nervous in that game, I found myself yelling a lot. Although they did not play their best in that game, there was definitely moments where they did play good, and at the end of the day, they played good when it mattered. They played good late in the game and got the win. If that game does not go into the win, but we did not play good. Win, but we should not. This shouldn't have been a win. I will admit, Virginia Tech really should have won that game, but late game mistakes by them made Miami win in that game. So at the end of the day, a win is a win and a loss is a loss. You play so hard and ain't gonna go into the loss. We played so hard, so good. We played so good, we just lost. It's gonna go into the loss category. And when people flip through the games this season and look at what bowl game they're in, whatever, they're not gonna look at one of these games and say, if they won, this game wasn't good. At the end of the day, it goes down as a win, and that's all that matters. Tomorrow we got basketball, a little bit of NBA stuff, and then Wednesday we'll talk a little NBA and MLB, which should be good. Trying to mix it up a little bit. I know I've been talking a lot of football on this podcast, but as the football season winds down, obviously there's going to be less and less games in the playoffs and stuff. There will be more opportunities for other sports as well, but I've really been enjoying this NFL stuff. We've obviously got the Jets only got for 0-9. They've only got 7 more games left this season. So more than likely 0-16. They got 7 games left, 7 weeks left. So obviously, going to be an interesting end to the season. With all that being said, I'll see you all back here tomorrow. I'll see you all back here tomorrow. We'll be talking some NBA stuff. Wednesday we'll be talking some NBA and MLB, kind of mixing it up and stuff like that. So with all that being said, I'll see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.